Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Lane with another video of Side Hustle Lane, and today's video I have JT from JT Automations. We're going to be doing a little bit of a Q&A here, talking a little bit about medical commodities and JT's opinions and thoughts on the medical commodities with a little bit of entrepreneurship. So, nice to have you, JT.
Thanks for having me.
So, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
We're just kind of going to go back and forth a little bit, talk about this stuff. First question, before your life as an entrepreneurship, I would say, was there anything that you focused on, just mentally, physically, anything like that in your life to try to amplify before even getting into entrepreneurship? Or was it just something you kind of just dove into, no thought process about it? It's just something, it was just like a do or die type situation, you know?
No. I dealt with fear just like a lot of other aspiring entrepreneurs, because I knew that at the end of my life, or when I'm an old man, I didn't want to have any regrets. But I was also afraid, because I come from a family where there aren't a lot of entrepreneurs. So people will say that it costs a lot of money and how you gonna do this or do that. So before I became an entrepreneur, I had to pretty much unlearn and relearn just basically how I thought about making money. All right, so that's what I struggled with. It was more so I was in pretty good shape because I only had 2 real jobs in my life, and that was 4 years in the Marine Corps, 1 year in corporate America working for Berkshire Hathaway as an operations manager. So physically, I think that I was prepared for whatever entrepreneurship would entail, but it was more psychologically for me. I had to get out of my own head because I was really afraid of how do you build an audience, how do you get people to buy stuff, all of these issues that go into entrepreneurship.
Well, I would say for me, kind of getting into entrepreneurship a little bit, there's really nothing you can do but just kind of start somewhere. I know the first thing I did mentally, I was like 255 back then. Now I'm like 190. So like the first thing I did was like kind of focus on health, just physical health, anything like that. It was getting way out of hand. But that was like the first thing I did. And once I kind of achieved that, that's whenever I got really serious about entrepreneurship and kind of thinking that I could really do whatever I wanted at that point. But next question, I will say, what's some things that made you get into entrepreneurship? Like, I know I was talking to you earlier about how the fact that I was working on box trucks, and box trucking was the very first thing I heard of. And I was working on 8 different box trucks for this one guy. After a while, about a year, I found out he was making $20,000 a week, and that was like the first thing that I heard. The first words I ever heard was owner-operator, but I didn't even go in that direction. I actually turned up to do medical commodities. But was there anything that you kind of heard about, or one of the first things that kind of came across in your life to where you got into entrepreneurship?
Oh yeah, so the main driving factor for me was regret. I said that I'd rather be an old man in a nursing home or in a shack somewhere, but can honestly say that I don't have any regrets in life, versus if I ended up in a mansion but I was still curious about what if I would have tried this business or that business. But second to that, I'm super thankful that I had the opportunity of working for Berkshire Hathaway, because every week I was an operations manager, was my job title. But every week the managers get what we call like a blotter email, where pretty much they compare your location to all the other locations. So at the time I was in Baltimore, Maryland. So they will put you in order based off of how much money you have made the company the week prior. And then they will make it like a competition, like, okay, well, Charlotte is doing better than Baltimore. Baltimore is doing better than Los Angeles. And in their mind, they thought that this weekly email would motivate people. But to me, it was the most depressing email ever, because I knew what my paycheck was. My paycheck was, my base pay was maybe around $1,400 every 2 weeks. So that's $700 a week, but that's after taxes and etc. Which, depending on where you are, that might be okay. But once they showing me that I'm making the company $24,000 every week I saw that, it just like I died a little bit every week, because I'm looking at, well, I made them on a bad week 20-something thousand, on a good week 40,000. My paycheck doesn't change. Now, they did give us like bonus and incentives if we did above average, but if I just performed at an average level, for one, with Berkshire Hathaway, there's no job security, so you're gonna get fired in a year or so if you're just an average worker. But I will make them around $24,000 a week, and I would make $700 a week. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I have the ability to make $24,000 a week. Now, do I have the infrastructure of a Berkshire Hathaway or the relationships of a Berkshire Hathaway? Absolutely not. However, if I can't make myself $24,000, that's a big range in between the $700 they giving me and the $24,000 that I'm making the company. So I said, you know what? At the time, I was 24 when I quit my last job. I'm 30 years old now. So as crazy as this math sounds, this was my realistic math that I said I was going to do. So I don't want to be an old man with regret. I'm 24 now. If I quit my job and I go from 24 to 30, giving entrepreneurship everything I had, and I fall on my face, flat broke, homeless, whatever the worst possible thing that could happen. I'm from a little small town in South Carolina where you can go get a job at the chicken plant or Walmart or wherever, and that's where a lot of my classmates and stuff work at even now. So I said, if I go out here and I scratch this itch from the age of 24 to 30 and I'm wrong, I could go work at Walmart or the chicken plant or somewhere, and then by the time I'm 65, because of course now retirement age is older than 65, but back then we thought everybody retired at 65. But I said if I work from 30 to 65, that's still 35 years of work history, and I'll be at the same level as the peers that I graduated high school with, so I really wouldn't be that bad off. So I know that sounds crazy, but realistically I felt like I had nothing to lose, and that's why I encourage people now to ask themselves, what is your company making off of you? The data says that the average small business, and when I say small business, I'm not talking about like a mom and pop shop that opens up and it's just them two and they hire you to bust tables, but the average small business can generate anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 if it's on the NYSE off of every employee, either directly or indirectly, is what studies say. So you could be the janitor, but because you're the janitor, now the executive can go do what they do and make deals that make the company hundreds of thousands of dollars a quarter. And if they had to worry about cleaning toilets, now they wouldn't be as efficient. So I challenge people to understand that jobs aren't doing you a favor. So ask yourself, what is your value, right? So if they're giving you $15, $20 an hour, whatever they're giving you per hour, what are they making off of you to make it worthwhile for them? And then do you think that you can make more for yourself? Right? And that's my long-winded answer on that.
No, it's cool. Yeah, no, I was talking to this nurse the other day, and she was like, yeah, I'm not stupid. I know I make $100,000 a year, but I know they're making $1 million a year off of me. So if you're making 6 figures a year, there's somebody else is making 7 figures a year off of you, and there's a lot of people out there that have not realized that yet. But also, everything you know about the medical commodities business, what mindset would you say that people should come into this business with? You know, I would say for me personally, it's staying like stress free. You gotta stay completely stress free. Just find some music you like. I would say FaceTiming friends here and there, 10 minutes a day. All that stuff helps out, especially when you're pretty much working from home all the time, you know. What would you say some mindsets of what you know about the medical commodities, with some mindsets would you say would be great for this business?
Yeah, I would say definitely you need to come into this business with patience. I'm not saying that, you're going to start and not make money for 6 months. However, I think mentally, a lot of people come into business and they'll hear success stories like Lane or anybody else that you heard was in this business doing very well. And then you think day one, you're going to make $2,000 or whatever amount of money they're making, not understanding that these gentlemen have been in this business for months. Some have been in business for years. So you need to come into this business, I would say, humble and patient, and understand that while you may eventually make as much money as Lane or anybody else that you hear about being in this business, you first need to learn the business first. So you need to come in and say, okay, what does he know or anybody else knows that I don't know? And then understanding that you got to build yourself up, because once you get these clients, you want to build a relationship so they come back to you month after month or week after week or every time they have some. So you got to be patient with yourself to learn the business, and then be patient enough to build a relationship so you have repeat customers, and not saying, well, I got medical commodities from Lane this time, and now I'm gonna just forget about Lane and never talk to him again. I'm gonna move on to JT, and then I'm gonna move on to the next person after that. So I would definitely encourage you that if you're interested in this business, watch his videos, educate yourself on this business, but come into it being patient. Yes, there's money in it. I know people that are making great money in it, but I don't want you to get into it and your first weekend you said, well, Lane said he made so many thousands of dollars. I didn't make that much money, so I'm going to quit, right? So every successful entrepreneur I know, they had ups and downs. None of them started their first week crushing it, right? So come into this with the mentality of being patient and being humble and being ready to learn and understand that this is a long-term play. So don't think about how much money you're going to make in the next 60 days. What are you going to make in the next 6 months to a year, or, forever, if you decide to hold on to this business long-term?
Yeah, definitely. I would say patience, mainly kicks in when a lot of these people, they'll start and they'll hit like 4 or 5 clients right then and there. Mm-hmm. And then it'll just be like a pause for a couple days, a couple days on in, and they're like, where are they? I'm like, you got to wait a whole nother month for that to happen again, Yeah. So you do have a lot of patience. You can't think from a week to week mindset in this business. You really got to think of it from a month to month mindset. Mm-hmm. I came in from a furniture warehouse getting week to week paychecks. But after I stopped doing that and thought with a month-to-month process mindset, that's whenever it felt a whole lot better, because that's the reality of this business. Mm-hmm. Also, I would say not like the $1,400 stimulus would matter to you in your case, but if, let's say you're getting the $1,400 stimulus, what would be 3 of the best ways to kind of split that up, 3 of the best investments you can make with something like that?
Right. So definitely if I have $1,400, and I know that a lot of people hate me when I say this, but I'm going to tell you the 3 things I will do, but one thing for sure that I would not do is pay any bills with that. And the reason why people hate that is because they're like, I got a car payment or a mortgage. I tell people, what would you do if the government didn't give you that stimulus check? Because they don't have to keep giving out stimulus checks if it doesn't make sense for whatever reason. So I will first tell people, you got to get into that mentality of whatever mundane problem that you have. It may sound like it or seem like it's the biggest situation ever, but how would you solve that if there was no stimulus check? Use that. And then 3 things that, go ahead. And then 3 things that I would invest in. First and foremost, it would be education of some sort, whether it's a book out, a course out, anything you can do to educate yourself on it so that you can make more money. I tell people all the time that your money is going to manifest itself in your mind way before it hits your pockets. Lots of times people think that, okay, I'm going to just find this blueprint that says do these 10 steps and make X amount of money. And you might find somebody that gives you that, but then you notice that you can never keep the money. So you're always working in that cycle. And that's because you have that same mentality of just go from here to here. So you need to first invest in your education, what it is that you would like to do, but you don't understand how to do it, right? And then I will tell you to invest in legally structuring that business, right? Having an LLC, business bank account, which is free, but you might have to put a couple dollars in the account to open it up, depending on the nature of the business, if you need insurance or whatever. So I would say education, structuring your business, and then seed money for the business. So if it's for the medical commodity business, let's say you invest in a book or a course or whatever is available to you, and then you say, okay, I want to do this seriously. You want to have a business structure, even though a lot of people will just always operate businesses without it, because if something was to ever happen, if there's not a formal business structure and I want to take legal action against you, then there's nothing that's separating the house that you own that's in your name from anything else. So by having a business structure, a lot of people, they don't want to do it, but understanding that these LLCs, S-corps, corporations, whatever you have is actually in your own best interest, and it protects you long term. And then I will use whatever's left after investing in my knowledge, investing in setting up a legitimate business so I'm protected, especially as a new business owner. I want to have as much protection as possible. And then I will start investing in doing some marketing and whatever's going to cost me to get my first round of medical commodities. right? So education, business structure, and then seed money for the business.
Yeah, it's really creating bad spending habits if you start using that stimulus to actually spend and pay bills. Plus, the government's just going to see that it's working, and this is what we should do. But yeah, I would say also, from everything you know about the medical commodities, like we talked earlier with the cities and stuff, from everything you know, what would you say about the cities? Does it really matter, or is it like just kind of 1 in 10 people everywhere you look at?
Oh yeah. There's like I forget the exact numbers, so I'm glad you shared that with me. But to be honest with you, I know it seemed like every older person I know has, and it's unfortunate, but they do have diabetes. So it seems like it's more than 1 in 10, but there's definitely, and I'm from a little small country town in South Carolina. It's definitely less than 10,000 people in the entire city. It's like where you go to retire when you don't want to do anything but sit on your porch. And definitely even there's a ton of people that are on fixed income or low income. And if you came and said, listen, you got all of these extra diabetic testing strips or medical commodities that you would want to sell, they don't need them and they're going to have another supply. So I know firsthand, small country towns, you can do it, and also major cities. So I travel to Atlanta a lot. And even there in Atlanta and Charlotte and these other cities. So I would say that you could do this business pretty much anywhere. I would encourage you to ask yourself, how many people do you know that has diabetes, or if you a country person like me, we call it sugar, right? So how many people you know with diabetes or with sugar that go to your church, that are in your family, that just are in your community, at your school, wherever it is, if you're in college or something like that. So if you just sit down, and if you can't think of anybody, I would say ask your parents, because they may know that, your auntie or your grandma, they may know as well. So you say, hey, listen, how many people do we know around us that has diabetes? Right? And you may be surprised how many people that you may not have known have this. So I think that you can definitely do this business anywhere. That is not to say that it's not a real business and you don't have to put the work in. So yes, I believe you can do it anywhere you want to do it, but I want to encourage you to get the proper education and to have that patience. So just because you didn't make $10,000 that first month doesn't mean that you should give up. You should consistently do it and build your business.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who get in this business, the first couple clients they even get are like family members or coworkers. Really, that's like the first two places to find these test strips. And their first 3 to 5 clients are coworkers and like family members or friends of families. I remember I was at work and I was talking to one guy about it, and then he was like, "What are you buying?" I was like, "Diabetic test strips." And he's like, "Oh man, my father's a diabetic." And he immediately went and got his dad's test strips, brought them to work next day for me, and I was like, all right, cool. So it's very close by about how many people actually have test strips, and I've worked with these people. I worked with those people for a whole year and didn't even know they had test strips or they were diabetic until I actually started getting into this business. So you really, just by asking around, you find out a lot of information. But as well as also everything you know about medical commodities, what would you say is the best startup capital wise? I honestly say anywhere from like $300 to $400. Have $200 for marketing, $200 for test strips. There's a lot of free marketing that we actually teach out there when it comes to Facebook and all that good stuff. But I would say personally $500 to $1,000, just to be sitting on very comfortably. But what would you kind of say? How would you recommend splitting that money up or anything like that?
Yeah, I would definitely say that no more than $1,000, but like you said, it could be even less than that, because you got to think about it. Like if your first initial customers are your co-workers, your friends, and etc., they already trust you, so they may not be trying to get top dollar where you're not going to pay top dollar anyway, but they may give you a better price than a total stranger anyway. So, and then they know that that's going to be a consistent income stream from them. And it's, to my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, once you get into the right network, it doesn't cost you anything to find buyers. You just have to know who the buyers are. So really, I think that whatever it's going to cost you to buy the test strips, and if you got family members and friends that trust you, that'll say, hey, listen, if I make an invoice for these today, I'll get paid tomorrow. Will you trust me to give you your money tomorrow? You might can even do it for $0, right? So I know I got a 3-year-old daughter now, and I hope I don't ever get sick. But if down the line I get it and my daughter comes and says, Dad, you got these extra medical commodities. If you let me sell them today, I'll give you your money tomorrow. Or even a close friend of mine that I trust. I'm like, yeah, bring me my money tomorrow. I don't need them anyway. So, hey, if you got people like that, you might can get started with $0. But I would say definitely no more than maybe, like you said, $400 or $500 just to give them their cash up front instead of making them wait until whenever you get paid.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I have had some clients. I remember somewhere in my first 30 days, I had one client that was a couple $100 profit, and to make that profit, you had to have a couple $100 there. If you didn't, you would just have to kind of keep buying, selling from that same person multiple times. So I'd say definitely having just a couple $100 set aside is the best way of starting, just in case an event like that actually does happen. But that is all the questions for today. Thank you all for tuning into this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll answer all of that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more content. But other than that, thank you, JT, for being on this video. All of y'all have a great day.